You're right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, here with my partner, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
If I could get this damn screen. Oh, hey everybody. I'm doing okay, man. It's been a long 24 or 36 hours, whatever you want to call it, but we're here and we gonna be happy and we gonna make some noise like we always do. Uh, we apologize for the the fact that we promoted and announced a guest for tonight's show, and that is not going to happen. We have some guests lined up that that
Hey,
are class.
well, it is what it is. It's you're doing a live show, and people can either make it or they can't. So it happens, and
Yeah,
just let it go. We'll try again. We'll try something another time. I mean, it is what it is. So
yeah. It was completely beyond our control.
yeah,
No worries. We still gonna do what we do. Thank you guys for joining us on Under the Dome. We invite you to subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at Under the Dome Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter by the handles that you see underneath our magnificent faces.
well, yours, not mine, but
No, no. Uh, uh, Before we get started, one thing that I did want to make note of, we pass on our condolences uh, to the son of former Saints running back Dalton Hilliard. His son, Dalton Hilliard Jr., passed away yesterday at 29 years old.
yeah.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, and we hope that they're doing okay.
Yeah, he went to high school. Just he was graduating just as my son was starting at Brother Martin. So, um, we did the parents orientation tour, and we went through the football locker room. And they had certain football players out there, and Dalton Hill Jr. was out there, and I didn't even have to ask who he was. He looked just like his dad.
Did he have
So
the thighs?
he did not have the thighs. And I think that's why he didn't get to the next level. He played at Nichols. He played Brother Martin from 2006 to 2009. And then he played at Nichols from 2010 to 2013 and never made it to the pros, didn't even get a tryout with the pros. He was an assistant coach, though, for Brother Martin. He is actually the second former or son of a Saint player who played over at Brother Martin. Pat Swilling's son, Pat
Mm-hmm.
Swilling Jr., and his adopted son both played at Brother Martin. Pat Swilling Jr. actually was a basketball player, and when they won the state championship in 2010, 2011 over Scotlandville, I went to that game. It was in the Cajun Dome. He was a stud basketball player. But Pat Swilling's adopted son, shoot, I knew I was going to forget his name. Let's see, son. Hang on here. Bruce Jordan Swilling, I think is his name. Let me see. Yeah, Bruce Jordan. He was the one. Jordan Swilling. He was a star running back for Brother Martin. He was the stud of the running backs. And he finished after my son graduated. My son graduated in 2014, the same year that current Saints backup offensive lineman
Will Clapp.
Will Clapp graduated. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of powerful names. And when my daughter got the state championship in basketball, when she won the state championship in basketball, we went to an award ceremony in the Superdome and Pat Swilling was sitting like 3 feet from me. And I was like, we're all sitting there, and I'm just staring at him the whole time because it's a big man. They just tell you it's a big man. And I so badly wanted to corner him before the ceremony ended, but he snuck out as soon as the award ceremony was over. He was out of there. But I was going to corner him, and Ken Trahan, who runs the Saints Hall of Fame Museum, was the host, the MC of the thing. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun. So, but he was there with Bruce Jordan Swilling to receive an award for what he did in football. Brother Martin never won a state championship. I think Jesuit won a state championship that year, but he was like the outstanding prep player in the New Orleans area that year. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what you were saying about Pat Swilling Jr. The same thing can be said about Barkevius Mingo that played for LSU. He played here or across the river now. I'm no longer in West Monroe. I'm in Monroe. But he played at West Monroe High, played 1 year of high school football, and got a full ticket ride to LSU.
Yeah.
And became a first-round draft pick.
He did, but he's still playing, but he's never panned out as the 5th overall pick of the draft.
No, he didn't. He was a basketball. You said a stud basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
This dude, he was like LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rolled into one. He was one of the most dominant basketball players that I've ever seen play. But and in college football, he played well. I never envisioned him as being a first round pick, though, especially at his position, given the other players available in that draft. I didn't see that. And I don't think that he's ever been fortunate enough to be in the right situation.
Calvin, Ellis Pooh barely came to North Louisiana recruiting. Yeah. Speaking of LSU, there was one other player when I was in high school. He graduated a year ahead of me, but he actually made it in the NFL. A kid by the name of Sammy Martin. He went to Dallas. He was the fastest white boy you'd ever seen. Probably Taysom Hill's the fastest one, but Sammy Martin was a fast white boy.
He could hit the same way Taysom could hit.
Yeah,
he did. I don't think that he had the breakaway speed that Taysom Hill has, but I've seen him hit that guard tackle gap and turn in on a middle linebacker and just truck him.
Well, he played De La Salle to 84, then played for LSU 85 to 89, and he was I want to say 5th round draft pick of the Patriots.
I think so.
I could be wrong, but let me just make sure. The reason why I bring him up is because, here he is, Sammy Martin. Because I watched this past Sunday. I've been making a habit over the weekends. On Sundays, I put on old Saints games that I find on YouTube or whatever. And he graduated 4th round pick in 88. He was drafted by the Patriots. The game I watched was an 89 Saints-Patriots game. The Patriots were terrible. And Sammy Martin played in that game, and he was probably there. He was a big receiver for them, and they had drafted Hartley Dykes that year. And
he was classmates with my older brother in Bay City High School Bay City, Texas.
Well, and it's funny because they kept trying to feed the ball to Hartley Dykes, and he ended up being one of the busts. They talk about that 89 draft because that's the draft class. You had 5 Hall of Famers go. in the first 6 picks.
Yeah.
And Green Bay, of course, took the one bust, and he really ended up not being a bust because he was just not worth the second overall pick, and that's Tony Mandarich. And Tony Mandarich, of course,
he was a bust.
Well, he turned out to be a decent guard, but he wasn't a great tackle. And he's a bust only because he was so heavily promoted. You remember the Sports Illustrated cover, the incredible bulk, and it was how he was the greatest player to ever come out as a tackle. And he ended up being a steroid stallion. He was a soft body. He couldn't take a hit. He had terrible feet, and that was the thing that they kept saying when they watched him. He says, just watch his feet. He does not have big feet. He doesn't dance well. He doesn't set up well. And that's why he never made it as a tackle. And really, if the difference between a Hall of Fame tackle and just a ordinary or a bust is really the feet, because you have to be able to mirror and slide. It's not your upper body strength. And Robert Gallery had incredible upper body strength, but he had terrible feet. What made Willie Roaf great was the fact that he had incredible feet.
Perfect balance.
Well, he walked like John Wayne, which they said was funny because you watching him walk and you're going, okay, he's not going to, he can't play. He's bow-legged.
And let me just to clarify and get the record straight. He played his college ball where?
Yeah, La Tech. I know. So did Terry Bradshaw. You got 2 of them. That's it.
No. You got Terry Bradshaw. You got Willie Roaf. You got Fred Dean. You got Pat Tilley. You got
keep going.
Well,
I got one that's supposed to be going to the Hall of Fame. I'm waiting for his nomination. Brian Mitchell should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should.
He's just not there yet because he's known as a returner.
Well, until utility players start getting the respect that they deserve for the difference that they provide in the game. Now, great strides have been made in that direction with players like Darren Sproles, but until they start getting, well, I mean, we all know it's a process, and it was the same thing for positions. Just for an example, punter.
Yeah, Ray Guy's the only punter.
As long as the Hall of Fame's been open, you have one punter in there.
Yeah.
And that guy should have been a first ballot, unanimous choice Hall of Fame.
Right. Ray Guy just finally got in a few years ago, and he's never been in. Morton Anderson's only the second kicker. Jan Senerer is the only other kicker. George Blanda's in there, but George Blanda was a quarterback as well as a kicker. But they just don't recognize return guys, not yet. It's coming, but just not yet.
Yeah, it's a process.
So anyway, the thing about Willie Roaf when he came in there, that's the thing that gave it away. What's that? Your Bulldog son?
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Well,
whatever.
Whenever I have this really important person in my life, and she went to ULM, which during the second,
I was waiting for somebody to bring this one up. Phil Robinson.
Yeah. The man who they say that he was a really, really good quarterback, and I've seen some footage. I haven't seen anything to tell me that he was the type of game changer that Bradshaw turned into. Bradshaw, as hard as this may be to believe, you got 2 Bradshaws. You got what you saw at Louisiana Tech, and he was a game changer at Tech with basically no supporting cast at all. He brought the level of those, like we always say about Drew Brees. He brings the level of those playing around him up to his level, and that's the way it was at Tech with Bradshaw. But you take Bradshaw and put him into the professional level, and you've got Franco Harris, Rocky Bleier, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, not to mention the Steel Curtain defense.
Well,
I think that had a greater contribution to his success at the professional level than his ability did.
The thing about Bradshaw is Bradshaw was a lot like Brett Favre at Southern Miss. He was a javelin player. He's a track star, track and field kind of player. And he just wanted to go out there and have fun. And he was used to, whenever you had made a mistake, and you see this on NFL's, what the hell is it called? Football Life. Talks about Terry Bradshaw and what his career was like. When he was at La Tech, it was like, he throws a touchdown pass. Great play, Terry. We knew we can count on you. Throw an interception. That's all right, Terry. We'll just get him next time. Don't worry about it. And
there again, at that point in time, you're talking about a Division I AA school, which Louisiana Tech was in that era. The level of competition he had at Louisiana Tech was nothing like the shift in culture that he would face going to the professional level.
Right.
And it hurt him.
And the thing too is that when he got to Pittsburgh, you have Chuck Noll, the kind of coach he was brought up by Paul Brown. He was Paul Brown. When Paul Brown used to use the guard system to send plays in, Chuck Noll was the guard he would send in and out to bring plays to the quarterback. Chuck Noll wanted a disciplined, structured offense that your quarterback doesn't make mistakes that cost you the game. And he is a game manager, and you run the offense. So, of course, this was also the era where you ran the football 3 yards in a cloud of dust still. But that's what Noll wanted. And your defense and your special teams, and win the game. You just don't make mistakes. And Bradshaw came out of the gate. I think he was sacked the most for safeties his rookie year. He threw a ton of interceptions. He was
gripping and ripping.
Yeah. And Noll would just give him the look or chew his ass out. And that was not the kind of player Bradshaw didn't respond to that. Bradshaw wasn't somebody you need to do this, you need to do that. You needed to kind of stroke his ego and, come on, man, you can get this going. Come on, we're counting on you. We can't let you do these things. And Bradshaw says to this day he doesn't understand why Chuck Noll drafted him, because he wasn't his kind of quarterback.
I think that it may have been it may have been an issue where the Bradshaw was drafted more by the Rooneys than by Noll.
Absolutely, but Noll,
that's what you get when you have a quarterback that's got to make the transition from being everything, the most important cog on the gear wheel in one place, and you have got to tame him and shape him into being just another player on this team. He's used to everything dependent on him. And we saw a lot of, just to draw a parallel there, the year that Peyton was out for the Bounty Gate suspension, you saw a lot of that in Drew, because Drew knew that if it was going to happen for the Saints, it was going to happen because of him. And he assumed that responsibility, whether rightly so or not. And a lot of times it cost him greatly.
Well, yeah. And of course, Bradshaw, ironically, Drew Brees was the kind of quarterback that Chuck Noll would have wanted for the Steelers back then, because that's the guy you can trust him to do what you tell him to do. We're going to run this offense, and Brees would do everything that Bradshaw did, except maybe throw it as deep as Bradshaw could, because Bradshaw had an incredible arm.
Jesus, he held the national record for the javelin when he was in college, or excuse me, in high school.
And the funny thing is too, when you look at the Football Life on Tom Landry or Football Life on Roger Staubach, they had the same problems. Landry wanted a guy that was going to do what he said for you to do, and Staubach was a guy who just trust my instincts. I'm going to run the football every so often. If the play is not there, I'm going to get yardage. And, Charlie Waters said one time, it becomes no, Roger, go Roger, breath because of the way Staubach could do stuff. So, but I know we're going way, way off target, but my point is, going way back to what I was talking about with Sammy Martin and local kids and everything else like that, Hartley Dykes was the big receiver. Everyone they had like 2 or 3 receivers. You watch caught in the draft, the 1989 draft. It's really interesting to watch this on the NFL Network, or find it on YouTube. It's a much better. But it talks about all the receivers in that draft class from 89. And Hartley Dykes was one of the top receivers out there. And they kind of had him. And I think the kid who went to the Bengals is like the 1, 2, and 3 with Jerry Rice not Jerry Rice. Damn. I forgot the guy's name, but it was like 3 receivers. And Hartley Dykes was the one like, okay, well, he's got to go here. Then he's got to go here. Then he's got to go here. And he ended up going to the Patriots, and they're all like, oh, he's going to be a star at the Patriots and anything. And he turns out to be a bust, a huge bust. And
Irving Fryer ruined Hartley Dykes.
It wasn't Irving Fryer. It was Stanley Morgan. Stanley Morgan.
You're right.
Yeah, Irving Fryer comes later.
He started hanging with the wrong crowd and the wrong people, and developed some really bad habits, shall we say. It's an age-old story, and I'm not going to go harping on that, but it just goes back to the point that we've always made. This is entertainment for us, but when you walk on that field, it's a business. And if you don't handle your business, you're going to be short for this business.
Yes. And the other thing, it's all about luck too. Where you get, who picked you matters almost as much as where you get picked in the draft. Because you go to the 83 draft class, okay? Mm-hmm. The caught in the draft. You look at those top quarterbacks that came out of that draft, and we're talking Elway, Marino, Blackledge, O'Brien, Steve Young even came out. Jim Kelly came out in that draft.
Yep.
And of course, Young and Kelly went over to the USFL. But you look at those quarterbacks, Blackledge had all the records and all the hardware you would want. Okay.
Sure. He was the national championship winning quarterback that year, was he not?
Exactly. Yep. And
they defeated Herschel Walker in Georgia, if I'm
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah. He was at Penn State, I believe.
Blackledge? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Blackledge goes to the Chiefs, who at that point, they're
terrible.
They don't have the coaches yet. I think when he went in 83, I can't remember who their Chiefs coach was, but it just was not, they weren't a passing team. They were a running team, and it did not work out for him. Well, here we go. So the Steelers, Bradshaw, going back talking about Terry Bradshaw. Bradshaw is in his last year in 83. He gets the elbow injury. Basically, he should have gotten Tommy John surgery, I believe, and he never gets Tommy John surgery. And Chuck Noll's attitude is, well, thank you, Terry, for your work, but we're ready to move on. Good luck. They had drafted
Malone?
the legendary mustache, Malone, Mark Malone.
Mark Malone
to be the quarterback of the future.
What kind of quarterback was Mark Malone? He was a hell of a broadcaster.
Yes. So Mark Malone gets drafted in 82. Here comes Marino sliding down the board. And they're like, there's no way he can get past the Steelers because he played at Pitt.
Yeah, and he was from Pittsburgh.
Right. No, he's from Pennsylvania. He was the same place as Johnny Unitas, but I mean, he's right there. You had to have seen him. This is the team that drafted Bradshaw out of La Tech, drafted Stallworth out of Florida A&M, I think. Something
like that.
Yeah, Mean Joe Green from North Texas State, which is now North Texas, and they're called North Texas Mean Green. That tells you how much of an impact Joe Green had on that university.
Yeah, until Joe Green was there, they were the Eagles.
Right. They changed themselves to Mean Green. So they specialized at finding, Lambert came from Kent State, non-football powerhouse schools. Pitt was not a great school, yet what's he talking about here? My brother's throwing names up. John Makovic.
He was coaching at Kansas City?
Yes, that's it. You're right. Yep. Yes. He was a QB coach from the Cowboys under Tom Landry. That's right. You're right.
He coached at Texas too, I believe, didn't he?
I believe he did. So anyway, So what I'm saying is, you've found all these great football players from these no-names football, as far as football, no-name football schools. I mean, Kent State, the first thing you think of, unfortunately, is the National Guard shooting students. You don't think about them as a football team, and yet here you get Jack Lambert, probably the best middle linebacker of the 70s, out of that.
Scariest.
So, you don't – so you got Bradshaw available. You don't get – and I'm not Bradshaw. You have Marino available, but you don't pick him because you already drafted Mark Malone thinking he's going to be your next Bradshaw. Can you imagine what would have happened if Marino goes to the Steelers in 83 and takes over after Bradshaw? How many more rings do you think the Steelers would have gotten? Because you're talking about a team that got to the AFC Championship game a couple times with guys like Mark Malone and Bubby Brister. Okay. And Bobby Brister, isn't he an La Tech kid, or is he a North?
No.
He was Northeast. He was North.
Directly
Northeast.
Across the bayou.
That fake UL school, not the real one.
Oh, we're going there though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because friggin' Baton Rouge and LSU and their little whiny, self-centered stuff. You can't have one school called University of Louisiana unless it's got a regional name after it, like a city, So, and it's got to be two schools. It can't just be one. So that's why ULM is ULM, because we were the University of Louisiana in 1984, and LSU threw a fit over that. Made us change it. The 84 yearbook for UL is UL Lafayette, and all over the campus you could see where the S was blacked out. And LSU made them change the name back because they were mad. So that's where my hostility to LSU began. You got Big Ben and Grover Clemmer. Big Ben and Grover Clemmer for the Atlanta Falcons. That's where the hatred was born. Well, it forged for LSU with their whining about not being. You can't be University of Louisiana. They don't want it, and they still get mad. You watch a game where the Raging Cajuns are playing. They put Louisiana up there. LSU people are like, you can't have that name. It's got to say ULL. There is no Louisiana. It's like an entire school of Karens. That's what it's like.
Hey, I was excited this week.
LSK, Louisiana State of Karens.
I was excited this week because they announced that for the first time since I can't remember the last time. Anyway, in the 70s, if you wanted the very definition of a blood feud, it was NLU, which is now ULM, and Louisiana Tech, separated by 30 miles.
Yep.
There were fights in the parking lot. There were fights in the stadium. There were fights on the field. And every year it just escalated and escalated. Well, they announced this week that the rivalry will be renewed this year. They will be playing each other in Independence Stadium, ULM and Louisiana Tech.
And La Tech is looking for another game. I think they may end up playing UL as well. I don't know if it's going to be in Cajun Field or up there where you are, but because
I remember the last time they played.
They don't play. Well, they're supposed to play LSU this year. La Tech is, I believe. I think that was
you're gonna find that a lot, from what I understand. You're going to be dealing basically with regional first, to where you don't have to travel teams so far.
Right.
You can put them on a bus and monitor that and that sort of thing.
Well, the SEC is talking about changing the whole schedule now to 10 conference games. So, it's just 10 SEC games, and they're just going to do it that way. So the non-conference teams they were supposed to play, and I think La Tech was supposed to play LSU this year, they lost that game. So now they're looking for another game. So that last I heard, UL and La Tech were in conversation about playing one another. But, and it's going to be interesting because the Big Ten has just opted out for the fall, and they're talking about playing in the spring.
Pac-12 as well.
And they were saying the Pac-12 is really going to be hurt because in the college playoff system, the Pac-12 is a very weak conference, so they're not going to get a lot of love unless they play other conference schools. So it probably makes sense for them to go ahead and just play in the spring and not even worry about the college football playoffs or anything. So
I don't think that they should even have a playoff this year. It's not fair unilaterally.
And that's just it. If the Big Ten drops out and the SEC is just playing themselves, and then let's just say, for the sake of argument, the ACC doesn't play. Well, that's Clemson. It's Clemson. So how you gonna do that?
That's your number one rated team in the preseason bowl. Preseason poll.
And let's just say the Big 12 doesn't play. So what now? What you really can't. I don't know how this is going to work out. I really don't. So that's why I've kind of been staying away from that stuff. But it's just interesting because, you hear this, and then in the NFL side, you've got players who are opting out every year. Every week. You had a couple players that had false positives for COVID. Matt Stafford was one of them. On the Saints side, Wood, the long snapper, he was a false positive. Zach Wood, yeah. So, it's I don't know how this is going to work out. I really don't. We haven't even had. We're now 3 weeks into training camp, and we haven't had a practice yet. I'm getting my memories. This time last year and a couple of years ago, we would have already seen the first preseason game. That would have been this past weekend. So I don't know how this is going to work out. So after all this discussion about college football and local stars and things like that, let's bring it all back to the Saints and the coaching staff. I found something interesting. Here Drew Brees is going into his 14th season with us. He's had the same offensive coordinator Same head coach his entire time he was here. And this is why he was on his pictures in for the tease for the show. The second longest tenured offensive coordinator for this team is the legendary Carl Smith, who was here the entire time Moore was here, for 10 years, 86 to 96. His longest relationship with one quarterback was with Bobby Hebert, 6 seasons. After that, you have to go to Aaron Brooks and Mike McCarthy, who were together for 5 years, from 2000 to 2004. And then you get into a list of guys who were around for 3 years together. Carl Smith and Jim Everett were here 3 years together. After that, Archie Manning, for example, didn't have the same offensive coordinator for more than 2 seasons. It was a revolving door, guys getting fired, guys quitting. There you go. Billy Kilmer, same thing, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
He was gone after the 71 season. Was fired midway through the 1970 season, Tom Fears. So, you had these revolving doors of Anna. Oh, my God, Carl Smith. So
Bobby Hebert's biggest fan, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So, it's you wonder why the Saints, even when they had 79 seasons, this offense was still clicking and still doing well, regardless of the pieces that are going into the team. It's because you've had this stability in coaching. That's no secret. And, as much as I hate Carl Smith, the success the Saints had from 86 to 92 really boils down to the stability that Jim Mora had in his coaching staff. You had the same coaches basically, and Jim Skipper, as far as I know, is still coaching in the NFL. I think Jim Skipper, he was with the Carolina Panthers forever. I don't think he's gone. He was the Saints running back coach under Jim Mora. You still see some Bobby April still a special teams coach in the NFL. You still see, and of course we know about Vic Fangio. That was the linebackers coach for the Saints under Jim Mora. Dom Capers started 2 franchises, Carolina and the Texans. So, that was a solid coaching staff. So it was just, Carl Smith, I believe, is still coaching over in Seattle. It's.
I hope he's eating that. I hope he's eating breakfast out of a dumpster behind Denny's.
God, I believe he was quarterbacks coach for which what does that say about Russell?
That's an oxymoron.
Yeah, what does that say about Russell Wilson?
I find it ironic that they're doing all these preseason polls based on last season, and they can't help themselves. They want to automatically usher in one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the league is Russell Wilson. And why? What has he done? He has had mediocre seasons.
He's gone to 2 Super Bowls, so you can't.
No, really. I'm talking about in the past 2 years. What has he done?
Well,
barely scraped rolling into the playoffs. And usually one and done there.
He's got him consistently in the playoffs, and that's a significant challenge. What bugs me more than anything else is the love affair that the media has with whatever the latest thing is. And right now, the latest thing is Lamar Jackson with the Ravens.
Did you hear Colin Cowherd?
No, I did not. What did he say?
He said that the Ravens are going to go 16-0, sweep through the playoffs, dominate the Super Bowl, and be world champions.
Why? Why?
Well, my mother always told me son, you can't do anything about stupidity.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this is not a knock on Russell Wilson. Not Russell Wilson. This is not a knock on Lamar Jackson's capabilities. But coaches spend the entire offseason breaking down film. And they're going to look at everything you do. Did you know that Drew Bledsoe and what was his name? Who ended up going to Seattle?
Rick Mirer.
Rick Mirer. Yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the next Joe Montana. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You had those two quarterbacks come out back to back. I mean, number 1 and number 2 overall in the draft class. Rick Mirer had the better preseason and better regular season than Drew Bledsoe. Rick Mirer had a good coach. He had Tom Flores as his coach, a former quarterback, and he was a successful Raiders coach over there in Seattle. He looked like he was going to be the next Joe Montana. And what happened was they studied this film, and they noticed that Rick Mirer did not do well throwing to his left. So what did they do all the next season? Every defensive coordinator sent blitzes to his right to make him, and then rolled coverage to the right, making him throw to the left. And he stunk it up. He was terrible. Meanwhile, Drew Bledsoe became the poor man's Dan Marino. A gunslinger, an incredibly accurate quarterback, loved to grip it and rip it, great quarterback. He ended up having a successful career. So, this falling in love with guys after one season this is typical of the media, and it's why it drives me insane, because Lamar Jackson, now he did make a tremendous strides as a passer, okay? But Lamar Jackson is going to have to improve from what he did last year. The reason why Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl is because he became a better quarterback last year than he was the year he threw over 50 touchdown passes, okay? Yep. He became a much better quarterback because he knew he didn't have to put the ball in the air 50 times every game and just make these incredible no-look passes and stuff like that. He let the game come to him, and he took what the defense gave him, and he just managed the game with sprinkling in great plays in the middle of it. And that's where Lamar Jackson's going to have to go. It cannot be Lamar Jackson running all over the place. And it can't be Lamar Jackson passing all over the place. Eventually, it's got to be the other guys are going to win the game for me. I'm just going to be the game manager. Okay? That's how Tom Brady's done it. That's how Drew Brees has done it. Because what do we say in this show all the time? Do the Saints have a better chance when Brees puts the ball in the air 50 times and throws 400 yards? Or do the Saints have a better chance of winning if we have running backs that rush for over 100 yards in a defense that sacks the quarterback 8 and 9 times? What's the better chance we're going to win a ball game?
B.
Yeah, exactly.
By far.
Right, because other guys step up and make a difference.
You can't make a living at this level by bombing teams into submission. It just doesn't work that way. You may get by with it once, maybe twice, but sooner or later, like you said, every time you walk on that field and you play, you're providing everyone else that you're going to play with a script.
Yeah.
You're providing them with the information that they need, and that's all they got to do. They have no other job but to sit down and figure out how to stop you. And once again, I need to stress, these guys are professionals. They are the best in the world at what they do.
Mm-hmm. And this
Lamar Jackson did a fantastic job last year. I was absolutely blown away with what the Ravens accomplished. But when it got down to the absolute nut cutting, what happened?
Yeah,
they couldn't stop the other team's rush game.
Exactly. And what did they do? They sent guys in after Lamar Jackson to make him second guess his first read. And also, they took away Mark Ingram's running game because Mark Ingram I think he was injured too, but they took away Mark Ingram. So the running game entirely became based on Lamar Jackson. So he sent guys in after him. And they wore that defense out with the big running back. I mean, Tennessee was not nearly as good of a team as the Baltimore Ravens, and yet Tennessee won that game. So for Colin Cowherd, I know he's like Phil Sims's kid. I'm not even calling him by his name. He's like Phil Sims's kid, where they say stupid shit just to get clicks, And
Cowherd made the comment. He said they have the two most important factors working in their favor. They're stacked and they're pissed. Well, dude, I got news for you. Nobody is more stacked than the New Orleans Saints roster right now. And I guarantee you there's nobody more pissed than New Orleans Saints.
That whole shit. I mean, then why didn't we go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl? Because I'm sure we were pretty freaking pissed off after the way the 2018 season ended. So
2019 season and 2017 season.
Yeah, I mean, for him to say something stupid like that doesn't carry over. Just like the whole idea, we need to win our last game so we have that momentum building the next year. It's 9 months. It ain't happened. That's not how it works.
No.
The only thing you're going to have in your mind is a revenge game. Where you want to make up for a screw up that you did, like when the Saints play the Vikings, that's a revenge game. Or when the Saints play the Rams, that could be a revenge game. But
it still counts for one damn game.
One damn game, and it's a long season. And if Lamar Jackson gets hurt, it's over.
All bets are off.
And with them not having a regular training camp, football is going to be incredibly sloppy that first 2 or 3 games, probably the first 4 games, because one of the things that we have seen the past couple of years is if you watch the first 2 or 3 games, teams start looking tired in the third and fourth quarter because they haven't played a whole game in a long time, because in the preseasons, you only play your starters at most into the third quarter, and that's the third preseason game. They don't even play the fourth preseason game. So I know we're going to see sloppy football. It's going to be horrible.
Yeah, it's going to be scary to see.
Yeah,
but I told somebody today that I'm really I'm optimistic this year for the Saints, because if there's no other factor working in their favor, the Saints could win the Super Bowl this year, and the media has a built-in excuse to disavow it, and to, just like they did with us before. The only reason we won the Super Bowl was because of Katrina. The only reason we won the Super Bowl was because of Bounty Gate.
How the hell is that argument always bugs the crap out of me, because
it does to me too.
Katrina happened in 2005. We win the Super Bowl 4 years later. How is that? We should have won it in 2006.
What bugs me is the fact that people insinuate that the league kind of structured it for the Saints to win that Super Bowl as a benefit for coming back from Katrina, so to speak.
Well, we should have done that.
That pisses me off.
We should have done that in 2006 with the NFC Championship game in 2006. So why didn't we beat the Bears in 2006? Don't give me the black head coach thing, because you already had that with Tony Dungy. So we should have won in 2006, but that didn't happen. So if it was rigged, that's the year it would have been rigged. Winning in 2009 has nothing to do with Katrina. That's 4 years later.
I agree.
It's a stupid argument. Just like the Viking fans, well, you hit our cornerback hard. You had a bounty on him. Don't turn the ball over 8 friggin' times. You know, you turn the ball over 8 times.
You're a gunslinger.
That's why you lost. You threw an interception right to Tracy Porter. You threw it across the field. Like your own announcer said, this isn't Detroit, man. This is for the Super Bowl. You know, why do you even
Happy birthday to Tracy Porter today, by the way.
Yes. Happy birthday to Porter. It's stupid. It really is. It's excuses. You know,
I got to give props though. I got to give credit where it's due. I saw this a couple of weeks ago, but I resaw it today. The statement that Cam Jordan made about the Buccaneers.
Oh yeah.
I loved that.
I tell you what, Cam Jordan should be a broadcaster after this, because Cam Jordan came on and he said that he was talking about his sacks and stuff, and he says, you know, he's had the most sacks against Matt Ryan, 18 of them, and he says Matt Ryan has been very good to me. He said his favorite sack was after the 4 sack performance on Thanksgiving night, the sack that ended the game. You know, that was his favorite sack. But yeah, he said they didn't rise up that day. You know, so
and for those who aren't aware of what I'm talking about, I forget the exact verbiage of it, but Cam Jordan was asked about what it's going to be like competing with Tom Brady now for the superiority in the NFC South. And he said, hey, you got to give them respect. They got the second best quarterback in the league right behind Drew Brees. But they're still playing for second place.
That's right. They're not, I don't think they're even going to make second place. My bold prediction, and we can get into predictions before the season starts. My bold prediction is that coach will not finish the season as head coach. They will fire Mr. Thumb before it's all said and done, because
You talking about Tampa?
No, not Tampa. No, they're going to fire the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons before.
Yeah.
I think they fire him around week 8 or week 9.
I can't imagine him lasting that long.
Well, I was surprised he lasted last year. I thought he was doomed last year, but they gave him one more year to fail, which is fine with me, because I'm kind of torn. You know, Atlanta, I like seeing the misery. I like seeing the chaos. I like seeing 7-9, but I don't want them to go so badly that. See, I miss Mike Smith. I don't want them to go so badly that they have to fire the coach and they bring in somebody who actually knows what the hell he's doing. I don't want that. You know, I like the chaos. Leave the chaos there. You know, I want something that. I did too, Anna. I thought he was gone last year, and the fact that they won, I think 5 out of the last 7 games or something like that is.
And one more thing I'm sorry to interrupt, but one more thing I saw today that reminded me, all these people that are the talking heads that know so much about this game, and they talk about what a dominant player Julio Jones is. Let me give you a little food for thought. Julio Jones last year, the most dominant receiver in the league, caught the same number of touchdown passes that Taysom Hill caught. 8 touchdown passes. One is a reserve gadget player, and one is supposed to be the most dominant at his position in the league. How does that figure?
I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive I'm not. Julio Jones has more turnovers and touchdown receptions against.
He did last year, yes,
against the Saints. So yeah. So all right. So I have a question running across the bottom of the crawl. Of all the Saints coaches, and you know, we talk about the stability, and that's why the Saints been successful. of all the Saints coaches outside of Sean Payton that's on this staff, who do you think's the most important?
Wide receivers coach. I forget his name.
CJ Curtis Johnson.
Yeah, Curtis Johnson. It would either be him or the secondary coach.
Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn. They have made in the past 4 or 5 years, just strictly my opinion, those two positional areas have made the biggest turnaround on this team, and been made more of a difference, shall we say? Because Drew is still going to be Drew. Alvin Kamara is going to be Alvin Kamara, and what CJ has done with Michael Thomas, it's never been done before, obviously.
But what's amazing about CJ is the fact that the Saints have been able to basically kind of throw this receiving core, doesn't matter where the guy comes from, and make legitimate NFL receivers, out of just 7th-round picks, free agents, undrafted free agents. Curtis Johnson's able to craft these guys and cobble together a good receiving core out of that. So,
because once you get past the Michael Thomas and maybe possibly Jared Cook, you're dealing with basically mediocre talent.
Well, I mean, you look at Ted Ginn, his first year here. Ted Ginn had his most productive season as a pro, as a receiver here in New Orleans. You look at a guy like Willie Snead. Willie Snead, we made a productive receiver out of that. Going back in time, Lance Moore, Devery Henderson, you turned his career around. Marcus Colston, so he has had this impact on all these receivers over the years, making them better receivers. So, yeah, I would agree he's probably one of the top ones. Dan Rochar, I'm going to turn my light on. It's going to screw up my picture. But Dan Rochar, I believe, is he's the offensive line coach. That's what I thought. All right. So, Rochar, I agree with Chad here. Rochar is another important one. We've had several.
Absolutely.
We've had several offensive line coaches. Aaron Cromer, who served as a temporary coach, interim head coach during Brownygate, and the guy who just got fired from. Did he get fired? The Jacksonville head coach, Doug Marrone. Did he get fired? I don't remember.
I don't.
I think he's still there. But Doug Marrone was in 2006. He was the offensive line coach before.
Yeah, and left here and went to Buffalo.
Went to Buffalo, correct?
And then to Jacksonville.
Yeah, so looking at it, an offensive line again. We've had a lot of moving parts. We've had a lot of undrafted free agents step in and play well. And we were able to do this past year with the cross training and stuff. You've got guys who are going to slide over the guard, slide over the tackle, and do, not be a turnstile, not be a disaster. We've consistently been one of the best offensive lines as far as protecting Drew, which is one of the reasons why Drew has been able to play for 20 years. So, I would absolutely agree with him. And his zone blocking schemes help the running backs. We bring in the right kind of running backs that run behind zone blocking schemes very well. You look at other teams that have offensive line trouble, and he's one of mine. Curtis Johnson, Rochar, and there was one other guy I wanted to bring up. I miss my poor guy, the special teams coach. I still don't understand why he got fired. The guy with the cane. Oh shoot, he was a long-time special teams coach. He had cancer, had
Yeah.
surgery. That's why he walked with a cane. He's the one that really discovered Taysom Hill and brought him in to be a special teams player. Hit the allegedly. Yeah, Doug Marone is still there. Okay. Yeah. The thing about Doug Marone, talking about him earlier in Jacksonville, he was the Earl of Bologna. I think they kept calling him on the Saxonville Abbey. We were talking about all the my favorite web page on YouTube is This Week in Sports Ball, and this guy, he does Days of Our Steelers, the soap opera of the Steelers, and he also did Saxonville Abbey, where he would imitate a British accent and go into all the terrible
And it's not safe for work, we might add.
No, it is not. I mean, when they went to England and they tried to stiff the bar for like $6,000, the players all drinking and everything else like that, and they talked about how that defensive back who's now with the Rams, Jalen Ramsey, would talk all kinds of shit about other quarterbacks and stuff, and he would, every time he would get burned, he says, "Well, you know what your problem is. You're not talking enough shit about people." So yeah, look it up. He's Urinating Tree is his page,
Yeah,
and Saxonville Abbey. It is well worth it. It's hilarious. I love it.
It is. It is. It is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
But the guy I'm going to say is probably one of the most important guys on this, coaches on this squad, outside of the ones that have been brought up. Defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen.
Sure.
Because he has managed to, that's what I thought. My brother's saying new coaches, Cowgirls, Cardinals, Browns, and the Washington football team. But the funny thing, that's their name now. They have no name because some guy in his genius went ahead and registered the trademark for every possible name they could come up with that would have made sense, and he trademarked them. And his argument is, well, I just wanted to save it for them so they could get it. No, you're looking to make some money. And that's why they called the Washington football team. It's hilarious.
This comes under the heading of, we can't make this shit up.
I wish I was the Jim Henderson of podcasting. I'm more like Hokie Gajan after 3 drinks in.
My favorite Hokie Gajan quote, he and Jim Henderson were talking, and it was like in between plays. He said, when I played, I had deceptive speed. People couldn't believe that somebody could be a professional football player and run that slow.
Walt Garrett. They said about Walt Garrison, and they said this about Hokie. And he says, and it's funny because Hokie actually led the Saints with, he still has the record, I believe, for running backs, 5.1 yards per carry average.
Mm-hmm.
But Hokie used to say about himself and Walt Garrison, if you need a yard, I'm going to get you a yard. You need 3 yards, I'm going to get you a yard. So.
Yep, that's Hokie.
And Hokie, I miss my Hokie-isms. Drew Brees to throw that ball through a knothole. Or, you talk about some guy being so fast, you go rabbit hunting with a hammer.
Of all the memories that I have of winning that Super Bowl.
Hey, Jerry, Mr. Allen doesn't work here. This is stupid-ass son does. Mr. Allen is a 78-year-old man who, if you saw him on this show, it'd be hilarious. How does this stupid thing work?
Anyway, one of my favorite memories of
you're probably right, Chad.
Of when the Saints won the Super Bowl was hearing after the fact the emotion in Jim Henderson and Hokie Gajan's voices. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think the emotion was there even more when they won the game to get to the Super Bowl.
It was.
When Jim, you could hear Jim Henderson's voice break. It's good. It's good.
No, and I've talked about this many, many times on the show. My favorite radio call will forever be Hakeem drops the ball, because it's the first playoff win. Jim Henderson's voice does crack on that when he's, but you hear hokey guys on the background. No, no, like this can't be how this game's going to end, and we, your heart's in your throat because we're punting back to the Rams. They only need a field goal to tie. They've been marching up down the field for the last 8 minutes, and Hakeem drops that ball, and Brian
Milne,
who has been on our show,
that's right,
recovers the fumble, and that's how this game ends. And it's unbelievable, but it fits because of the way this franchise has been. That's the kind of ending we deserve. But what I was going to say,
like we've talked about before.
Yeah.
You as a Saints fan, you've been conditioned over the years that something is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you see the Vikings marching down the field. All they got to do is complete a pass, kick a field goal, and we're screwed. And we've gotten to the NFC Championship game one more time just to lose in our own stadium. And then Favre does what he's done a million times, and Tracy jumps the route, catches that interception, and you're all excited, and then we got to go to overtime. Oh hell.
I'll be honest with you. When we won the toss in overtime, I'm like, "There's no way we're losing this game." Well, actually, I kept saying that whole final drive. We can't lose this game. We're not going to lose this game. We can't have gone 13-3 and lose this game. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It's just not possible.
The most scared I was during that game was when we went for it on 4th down, and Pierre Thomas leaped over the pile and picked up that 1st down. When that happened, I thought, there again in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, somehow something's going to happen. We're New Orleans. We're not supposed to win this game.
Well,
When Hartley lined up to kick that ball, I don't think I took a breath for like 15, 20 seconds. And when the ball went through the uprights, I lost my voice.
I've got it on DVD, and I was at the game. And I'm telling you, it was the quietest I ever heard the Dome waiting for that kick. You could hear his foot hit the ball. It was that quiet, and then you hear that thump. And the roar really starts as that ball leaves his foot heading towards the goalpost. The roar starts, and as soon as the officials don't even have their arms up, and that's when it comes up. It's loud. And I've said this a million times on this show, and those of you who know NFL films, you've seen Sam Rutigliano with his hands on his knees, and he's hunched over and he's standing up going, one time, baby,
one for your boy.
Yeah, and that was me. That's how I was almost the entire 4th quarter and overtime. I'm standing hunched over like this, we cannot lose this game this way. It's our turn. So that was important. I mean, that was just an incredible. I didn't have that feeling in 2018 that I had in 2009 that it was just going to happen. There was no way we were going to lose this game. In 2018, I felt like we should win this game, but I never got the feeling as that game was unfolding that we had this game won.
That was in Minneapolis.
No. I'm talking about the NFC Championship game against the Rams. Against the Rams. No, in 2017, that was the game where I was mad because they gave us hope. We didn't
deserve to win that game.
We got our ass handed to us in the first half. In the second half, we suddenly just said, "Oh, this is a football game. We better start playing the way we're capable of playing." And we start kicking the Vikings' ass, and I enjoyed that because I don't like the Vikings fans. I think they're whiny bitches, but they are big, because they're still bitching about the 2009 NFC Championship game, and you've choked away other games since then. But you're still going to bitch about that.
Yeah.
The game you should be pissed off about is in 1998 when you lost to the Falcons. You had no business losing that game. That's the game you should be mad about, not the 2009 game. Fumbling the ball 8 times, that's how you lost the game. So anyway, or turning the ball over 8 times total because the interceptions. But anyway,
and your kicker that doesn't miss a kick the entire season.
Yes, exactly. But in 2018, watching the NFC Championship game, I didn't feel like we played a very good game. I think we played a very good game against the Vikings in 2009. But it wasn't until we threw the deep pass to Ted Ginn to get us in position for the no call, but get us in position to win that game. I didn't feel like we played a very good football game until that point. And when the no call happened, then I was like, we're just screwed. Well, they screwed us out of this game. We go to overtime, they screw us again with you get a roughing the passer, no call because the guy hit Drew Brees in the head. You get pass interference. The ball's not tipped because if there's no roughing the passer, then the ball's not tipped. So it's pass interference because you're not calling the hand to the head. Then you can't possibly say the ball was tipped. So you can get a guy to go in and just shove Michael Thomas out the way so he can make the interception. So you can't have it both ways. And that's exactly how they ruled it. So I'm like, you did the trifecta. We got screwed 3 times. Congratulations. That's just right. So you can get the Rams and that Los Angeles market in the Super Bowl. That was bullshit. But that was why I didn't feel like that was a Super Bowl we were going to win, or a game we were going to win. I thought we were going to win until kickoff. I thought we were going to win the wild card game, or I'm sorry, the divisional round game against the Vikings. I thought that was the game we were going to win. No, we played in the wild card round, didn't we?
No, it was divisional.
Oh, divisional round?
We won the division.
Okay.
We won division last year.
I know, but we didn't have to play in the wild card round. We weren't the third. Yeah, we were the 3rd seed last year, weren't we? We weren't the
We
one.
Didn't play in the first round.
But I'm saying we weren't the 1 and 2 seed. We weren't the number 1 and number 2 seed, so we didn't get that first round bye. That was the difference.
No, we didn't get a first round bye.
So we played in the wild card round. We were divisional winner, but we played a wild card team in the Vikings, and we lost that game because we decided not to play that week. The offensive line.
We just absolutely flat got their ass kicked. The whole shittery.
Yeah. So what I was going to say before we got on that thing, I feel the defensive line coach is important because I think that's where all our talent is. That is where we have to get all our pressure from. That's who has to stop the run. So defensive line is very important. Calvin's bringing up the new linebacker coach. We lost Mike Nolan. He is I'll never get over the no call. I've never watched that game again. I've rewatched old games that we've lost just to see how we lose it. And the no call, I refuse. I will never watch that game again. I can't watch it.
Me.
I can watch Big Ben over the no call. because I can deal with, okay, we lost the game because we screwed up. I've watched the Minneapolis Miracle. I can see that and say, okay, that was a screw up. We made a mistake. We lost that game because we screwed up. I can't watch no call because it pisses me off because I look at officials looking right at the play and not make the call and then had the gall to say, oh, we didn't see it. Your ass, you didn't see it. That's your job. So I'll never get over that game. I will never get over that game. But I think Calvin's going back to what Calvin had said. I think the new linebacker coach is critical because you've got so many new pieces in this thing. You've got so many with Zach Braun, the 3rd-round pick. You've got 2 guys who you're going to be counting on. They're coming off of injury, Alex Anzalone and Kiko Alonso. That is critical because you have to be able to get a high level of production, not just production, but a high level of production out of the linebacker core. And Demario Davis, that is the key. Demario Davis has to stay healthy for 16 games. Because if he misses any time, we're really screwed. We really are. I mean, he is the Jonathan Vilma of this linebacking core.
Absolutely.
All
Thank you guys for joining us tonight on Under the Dome. We hope you enjoyed it. We have a blast doing this. Once again, you can follow us on Facebook at Under the Dome Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter by our handles seen below our majestic faces. Hard to believe I could say that with a straight face.
Tell me about it.
We love you guys, and thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you next Tuesday night. And with that, I throw it back to you, brother.
Absolutely. When does the first practice begin? I have no idea. I'm telling you, I've been following on Twitter, and Underhill is my go-to guy, and they have not had a practice yet. They're still testing. They're still getting all this organized. They're staying. They got the whole Lowe's hotel for the Saints players. I don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to do reporting from this. I'm still curious about this. So until we start hearing news from the Saints on this new team and what's going on, we're going to keep bringing up old stuff. I'm sorry. I'll try and do as best I can. We're going to try and talk about next week. Next week, we're going to try and talk about the offensive side of the ball, breaking it down by positions. What do we expect out of this? Who we think is going to make the team? Who's not going to make the team? Who the dark horses are? It's all going to be guesswork, but that's why we're here. Anyway, thank you guys for sticking with us. We'll see you next time Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.